You are listening to Stribling's New York on WOR AM Radio 710 on your digital dial. Producer Tony Simone and I are joined in the studio by Andrew Rashiej, who is the chairman of the New York Tech Alliance. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me about the New York Tech Alliance, which was recently changed. It was known by another name.
It was called the New York Tech Meetup, which was founded in 2004 by actually the founder of Meetup.com. It was a effort on his part to start his own meetup on his own platform where he invited people from the technology community to get together. And the first meeting was 3 people, and it quickly evolved into nights of demos and growth. And up until about a month ago, it was over 50,000 members. We hold a monthly meetup where 1,000 people get into an auditorium at NYU, and a dozen companies come and do 5-minute demos to an audience that's a diverse mix of New Yorkers. And we just merged with the New York Tech Council, a sister organization of 10,000 members, and we renamed ourselves the New York Tech Alliance.
So how does you made a reference in the green room when Tony was serving his caviar before to Silicon Valley, and what's the difference between New York, which I was told I can't call it Silicon Alley anymore?
Yeah,
here?
we don't like calling it Silicon Alley very much because we think it creates this sort of false narrative of comparison. So Silicon Valley is an amazing place, but it doesn't represent the entire tech community. It's very often you'll hear or read in newspapers about the tech industry, and they'll refer to it as Silicon Valley. Well, the reality of it is that the New York tech community is, in terms of size of population and the type of work that it does, far larger than the Silicon Valley community, which is famous for its unicorns and its stock price, but not necessarily known for its diversity, and diversity of not only the number of women who have positions in technology, but in the kinds of focus and the kinds of ways at which it leverages technology for the benefit of a city or the benefit of individual people.
Well, when I did my previous show on WOR, which was called Tech Hub, I got the sense that most of the funding for all these firms comes from New York anyway, at least 80% of it, unless I'm wrong.
Well, it depends on how you
guess it depended on who my guests were, too.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of investment going on. I think New York now ranks second in the country in terms of total investment into startups. But, what's really interesting about New York is that it's no longer about tech startups anymore. Every major New York City industry is trying to convert itself into a digital business. The Citibank thinks of itself as a digital company. The New York Times thinks of itself as a digital company. And they're competing for the same engineers that Google and Facebook, who, by the way, now have huge offices in New York, are competing for. So what used to be a bunch of startups who were using the internet and mobile technologies to create these amazing businesses, many of which are transforming our world, it's now a matter of really leveraging the technology in relation to all kinds of other activities, whether it's financial tech, whether it's health tech, whether it's fashion or other industries, which New York is already famous for, media in particular, that are all being transformed by these technologies. So what makes New York particularly strong and maybe more powerful than Silicon Valley is the high quality of human talent that lives and work in this city. And every professional of any stripe who is not involved in technology today means that they're behind the curve. They're a dinosaur. So anybody who's still building their career, building their business is now involved in technology in some way.
Now, was that the catalyst for Civic Hall? I know that has to do with working with government, but it's a great meeting place.
Right. So thank you for mentioning that. So Civic Hall is a new 18,000 square foot collaborative work and event center for people interested in civic tech. And we define civic tech as any technology that improves the public good. And Civic Hall is actually emblematic of the very large cohort of New Yorkers who are interested in how technology doesn't just help us make money or make the world more efficient, but could also be used as a tool to make the world a better place, to be able to shift power from the few to the many, to create more equity in the world, more justice in the world. And so we opened Civic Hall 15 months ago, and it's a membership organization that allows people to join, use the variable conference rooms. There's a 200-person event space, but there's also a collaborative work center where people meet and work on hard problems, whether it's criminal justice reform, whether it's helping move the education system forward, whether it's solving healthcare issues or environmental issues, or even projects related to the smart city. Civic Hall is a what I would call a secular or ecumenical place where people from government, people from private sector, people from the nonprofit sector, people from technology come together to collaboratively work, where diversity is what's celebrated, not the technology.
They've had some great events there.
I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I've heard people from out west refer to Palo Alto as Shallow Alto. So,
well, unfortunately, California has some fantastic technology and fantastic people, and it's not that there aren't good, well-meaning people in California, but the culture of California's technology industry is very much built on speed and finance related to the growth of technology companies, and it's causing a lot of problems there, as you may have read and heard about. They have a huge housing crisis in the San Francisco area.
And it's a different environment, too, because it's more of a car culture when you're outside of San Francisco, and New York is New York.
And New York is New York, and it's a much smaller city than people realize, and it has huge diversity problems. All the tech companies that are based out there have problems with the number of women who are in positions of management within their companies, on their boards, and as well a number of people of color of other persuasions from a diversity perspective who can participate. So that's another example of why New York can exist. And I actually think Civic Hall is an example of empathy in the tech community.
Is there a website for Civic Hall?
Sure, it's civichall.org. Okay.
And same with the New York Tech Alliance. What's the website there?
Right now you can look it up under the New York Tech Meetup.org, nytm.org, and join. But you can join for free. And there's actually, to just give you a bigger sense of the size of the New York Tech community, the New York Tech Alliance and its associated New York Tech Meetup is 60,000 members, but there are 1,800 other tech meetups in New York every single month. There's a fashion tech meetup. There's a Brooklyn tech meetup. There's a gay tech meetup. There's a mobile tech meetup. There's a online advertising tech meetup. You name it, there's some group of New Yorkers who are getting together on a monthly basis and sharing ideas and sharing resources around a topic area related to how technology is changing our economy.
So if someone's interested in tech or learning tech, they should head to Civic Hall, right? Civic Tech.
If you're interested in civic tech, if you're interested in technology for the public good, you should come to Civic Hall and join Civic Hall. But if you're interested in starting a career, starting a business, starting or improving your lot in life, and you're interested in technology, New York is the place to do it.
Well, just as another addendum to that, there was something, I think, in today's New York Post about Cornell's new tech campus and the dormitory that they're building.
Correct. So under Mayor Bloomberg, a very successful and powerful initiative got started, which is called Cornell Technion, which is to build a computer science school on Roosevelt Island, which Cornell won the bid for, and they are currently operating out of Google's headquarters on 15th Street and 8th Avenue, as they're waiting for the campus to be completed. But what Mayor Bloomberg did, and very importantly did, was focus attention on the need for every major industry to be able to hire computer scientists and technically trained people to help grow their businesses. So when Citigroup and Facebook are competing for the same engineers, that's a problem if there aren't more engineers.
So today, as opposed to my generation growing up when our parents wanted us to be a doctor or a lawyer, we want the kids to become engineers at Google, Facebook, or another big company like that, or at the New York Times.
Sure, and there, like I said, every major industry is now converting itself into a digital business, and maybe working for Google was something that people wanted to do 10 years ago, but today people want to make sure that they have a good paying job that continues to increase in value. And you can't do that unless you have digital skills, which brings us to the issue of education, because even though Cornell Technion is going to graduate maybe 100 engineers per year when it's fully operating, CUNY right now produces more engineers than any other school in New York. And
that's the City University of New York.
City University of New York. And it has fantastic students and fantastic programs, but we're still not producing enough engineers for the demand. Every time we do a New York Tech Meetup event and someone on stage is demoing their product or service, 9 times out of 10 at the end of their presentation, they say, we're hiring, we're looking for engineers, product managers, marketers, people with digital skills, social media managers. There is a growth industry around using digital tools in business, and the education system has yet to fully fulfill its mission to create the workforce of the 21st century.
Now, Andrew is a founder of Mouse. Can we bring that up a little bit?
Sure. So thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
So Mouse was an organization that I founded in 1997 when I was running a nightclub called Irving Plaza, and across the street there was a school called Washington Irving High School that I walked into.
That makes me feel old, but okay, I remember that.
1997, there was 3,000 kids, most of them on school lunch, and I walked into that school and there wasn't a single computer anywhere in the school, not one. And so I sent an email to 10 friends asking them if they would help me wire a computer lab in the school. I ordered the T1 line from, I think, Verizon at the time was $6,000. And to my surprise, 2,000 people from the tech community, speak about empathy, showed up in response to one email that I sent to 10 friends. And we built that computer lab, and that inspired me to start an organization called Mouse that started wiring schools around the city. We got to about 75 schools over a 3-year period, and then we realized that the computers were being installed, but there wasn't anybody to fix the computers or make them into learning tools. The school system, I think at the time, had like 3 or 4 systems admin people for the entire Department of Ed. So we developed a program to train the kids themselves to fix and maintain computers, and that program now I think is in 100 New York City schools. 90% of the kids who are in the program graduate and go to college. And it was one of the first Mouse, if not the first, but one of the first tech training educational nonprofits in the country. And in New York right now, there are over 80 nonprofit tech training organizations that are trying to deliver digital skills to underserved communities. They're underfunded. They don't share resources enough. And the public policy arena or the political arena has yet to realize how important getting our 21st century education system on track is.
So what's up for the future? Where do you see everything heading in New York, and how is Roosevelt Island going to grow, and where else can New York tech be developed?
So, our new mayor has been a leader in this regard. Bill de Blasio has made broadband a major initiative. 30% of New Yorkers still do not have broadband access in their homes. Even though the city is covered by broadband, many people can't afford the $90 a month. There are programs like the New York City Public Library's program to distribute hotspots to underserved kids. The mayor announced a program to turn our payphone system into a wireless hotspot system. So there are various initiatives to bring New York into the 21st century. And then if we have
subways are changing too dramatically, which is really great.
Which is really great. I ran for public advocate in 2005 on a platform to make New York City wireless. And in those days, the New York Times didn't, when I went to their editorial board and asked them, or asked them for their endorsement, they asked me, what's Wi-Fi? That was 2005.
That's crazy.
But now we're or I like to say on the subways, if you see something, say something. Well, maybe now we're actually going to be able to do it because we'll be able to be connected. But more importantly, to answer your question, Rob, there's, as much as I'm excited and optimistic about the future of New York, it has its challenges because New York was a successful city in the 20th century and now needs to convert itself into a successful city in the 21st. And it has to focus on some very important fundamentals like education, broadband, and diversity in order to make sure that New York succeeds and competes not only in the economy of the United States, but in the global economy.
Well, I'm confident with you at the helm that this can happen.
Well, I'm not at the helm.
Well, you see, you're
He's a leader. He's one of the leaders.
Spokesperson.
Let's call him one of the
I tend to exaggerate. Everybody we have on the show is the head of everything. Top doctors, top lawmakers.
He works with a lot of other great
I'm
tech
flattered.
leaders.
I'm flattered that you gave me an opportunity to share some ideas, but this isn't about me, and it's not about the tech community or the tech industry. It's about New York as a collective community rebuilding itself in the 21st century. We have to move past the 20th, not just economically, but politically, but socially, and technology is a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. And we're focused here in New York on making sure it's used for good.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. This has been great.